awal dengan syarikat farmaceutical Pfizer
5%. Pada tahun 2021 pula,
The company's president said they are committed to undertaking
sebanyak 4%.
kemiskinan tersedia ekonomi negara dan berkembang.
With the easing of restrictions and the access to COVID-19 vaccines as early as next February, industry players are expecting a steady recovery to businesses as they anticipate sales and return to pick up during end of year. Highly affected industries such as tourism and petroleum are expected to improve moving forward, although the pace may differ across different industries. Based on the World Bank forecast, the country's economy is projected to grow by 6.7% in 2021, after contracting by 5.8% in 2020. Previously, its gross domestic product GDP was projected to contract by 4.9%. The larger contraction was due to the reinforcement of the Conditional Movement Control Order (CMCO), which had impacted the economy, and by factoring in a larger contraction in the fourth quarter of 2020. Additionally, the World Bank highlighted that the economic improvement is expected to be broad-based. The 6.7% GDP growth projection is premised on the effective rollout of vaccines, continued improvements in export, and a built-up momentum in consumption and investment activities. With the expected economic recovery in 2021, the government is expecting increased revenue collection. The government's revenues are projected to rise to 236.9 billion ringgit, a 4.2% increase over expected revenue in 2020. This is based on the government's estimate for GDP growth of 6.5 to 7.5%, in which its range reflects World Bank's projection of 6.7%. According to the Ministry of Finance's Economic Outlook 2021 report, the economy is to contract at a slower pace in the second half of 2020, thanks to the speedy implementation of various stimulus packages. The projected increase is expected to be contributed by higher tax collection in 2021, which are estimated to reach 174.4 billion ringgit, a 21.2 billion ringgit increase than in 2020. Direct tax is projected to go up by 0.2 percentage points, which accounts for 7.6% of GDP. Similarly, petroleum income tax is estimated to rebound in 2021 on account of improved demand and a slightly higher average crude oil price assumption at $42 per barrel. Whilst all this gives an optimistic outlook to the nation's economy recovery process, the World Bank points out that unexpected delays in the rollout of a COVID-19 vaccine would constitute a downside risk, in addition to ineffective containment of the virus, which could subsequently result in the movement order being extended. It was recently reported that Malaysia is expected to receive the first batch of COVID-19 vaccines jointly developed by Pfizer and BioNTech as early as February next year. Besides that, the government is set to seal an agreement with the United Kingdom's AstraZeneca, marking the third COVID-19 vaccine deal after COVAX and Pfizer. Malaysia appears to be serious in combating the coronavirus, as seen in their vaccination effort. However, the concern here is whether the vaccines will be distributed in a timely manner. Besides that, an increased number of vulnerable households is another downside risk, as the CMCO has severely affected businesses and employment. For perspective, there were over 610,000 unemployed persons in the country when the localized clusters of the COVID-19 virus first came to Malaysia back in March. The Age previously reported that overall household debt increased by 4% to 1.27 trillion ringgit. This makes up for 87.5% of GDP as at end June 2020. The bulk of the debt comprised of loans for purchases of residential properties accounting for 55.9%, followed by personal use for 14.2% and passenger cars for 12.3%. In addition, domestic political uncertainty could serve to constrain private investment. This is because a fragile government would leave investors to become extra cautious in their spending, ultimately leading to the potential investment decline in the country. Meanwhile, the Malaysian consumer lending market is expected to slow down in 2020 amidst the pandemic. Analysis by Global Data reveals that consumer loans, which reflects a healthy compound annual growth of 5.9% between 2015 to 2019, is expected to decline significantly to 2.4% in 2020. While it is projected to rebound, the recovery would be gradual, with applications for new loans also experiencing a drop as consumers become more wary about taking on additional liabilities due to economic uncertainty. With the approved 2021 budget, the government is set to help the country's reeling economy weather the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. It aims to provide support to lives and livelihoods and introduces various measures to facilitate economic recovery. While Malaysia seems optimistic, the strength and timing of nation's economic recovery will depend largely on the timely availability of an effective mass vaccination program. As such, until the vaccines are readily accessible, our fight against COVID-19 is far from over.